for like marketing is like a really weird thing.
It does seem weird, especially kind of combined with this kind of other attitude. That, I see it with like more than just bands. I think just arts in general. Like they're like the first issue, talking about the bit of sense of entitlement that somebody, that cover, fuck you, go buy your $7 latte with that one.
Yeah.
So it's like you're saying someone like, well, I mean, we did it, right? We did it, but we understand that that's not really fair to put like to get mad at the consumer because they're buying a $7 latte instead of your book. It's like make that book the best that it can be so that they choose your book over this thing that they also really enjoy. And to just like say that they should buy your shit kind of blindly is not really fair to them, nor to yourself, because it's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah. Well, and I think like that's the point. Like it's not. Well, and I think with our experiences, we decided to do like a pay what you can model, and then when we stuck it up, like I was surprised that the majority of people picked the higher, like the highest tier. And it's not like we sold 1 billion units or something like that, but the people that had bought were like people that we had developed a relationship and had been creating like content or art for like about a year, like in a lesser format that they appreciated. But yeah, I don't know, like, because what's like what you were saying easier, like when artists get pissed off and they're like, you don't understand my art.
Mm-hmm.
Or there was this time I was at a show at one of like Sky Mall, like the like house venue, and this dude came up and I was with some people in the kitchen like talking, and he started tearing into us, like his band was about to play or something. He's like starting to tear into us. It's about like, what are we doing upstairs, and you should be going down there and like supporting the scene. And I was like, man, go fuck yourself. Like, for one, you don't know me. For two, I think your band's a piece of shit. And for three, like, I'm having a really good conversation here. Like, the world doesn't revolve around your art. Like, you're not brilliant. Like, some people might dig it, but it's not for me, you piece of shit.
Yeah, I think anytime you tell somebody what to do, I guess it's especially that way. It's like, why do it like that when you can? Because basically, too, with that attitude, you're giving. There's no trust in that relationship. Like what he was saying to you in that situation, there's no trust there. It's like automatically you have this negative mentality about this person. Instead, if you like at least had some faith in the world, you'd say, hey, I'm about to play, you guys want to check it out, we do this thing. So if like, you have to come fucking listen to this, it's like, no, you
will blow your mind.
Nobody's gonna do that if that's how you say it to them. And like, I don't know, I think it's important to have trust in like, and that's like back to the ads, is like, you can't break that trust when you try to force that upon somebody by paying this, by just paying and then giving it to them. It's like you kind of, it's like you have to be really careful or aware that that's what you're doing, and that you might break that trust between you and who's ever buying your product or whatever. Whereas like with us, I think like you were saying, we've learned kind of like that doesn't work.
Well, I think we've done it all in that terms of, you listen to like a Gary Vee video or like plug into like whatever internet guru, and you try to like execute these ideas of growth hacking, and realize that the only thing that actually matters is like human connection, and like actually, like human connection, especially in the digital world where I think a lot of people are starved for that and like lonely. And I think in terms of artists, I guess for like reference, like we're commenting on like a local band who, we saw like an ad they bought on Instagram just for our mom who are gonna like listen to this eventually. But like with that, band specifically, like, you know, like I know the person and they definitely have like an anti-capitalistic vibe, and like I'm for the common man, and you know, let's all be inclusive and stuff. But then at the same time, like claiming that you're anti-capitalist and like fighting the good fight, but then your definition of success is like how many tickets you're going to sell and like how many people are going to come out to your show, and then you're actively paying money to like a big corporation to like market yourself for sales. Like that's capitalism. Like you're operating in within the free market. Like you're sure you're an artist, but like at that point you're no difference than like Nike trying to sell shoes.
Yeah, no, I think that's kind of why it feels weird. Yeah, and there's a bit of like, because when I see that, it's like I don't understand it fully yet. But yeah, there's a bit of discomfort in it, and maybe even slight discomfort, but it's still there. It's like what confusion or something there that doesn't seem right. That doesn't make me want to go and buy this person's thing. It just does kind of the opposite. I just want to ignore that and not even really look at it. Whereas if like, so I guess in that sense, maybe I don't have the solution or something, but I can feel like that it's not really the answer.
Yeah.
At this point, for me, I think we're
No.
learning.
Well, and I think like maybe at some point, like in terms of being a business, I'm sure at some point like it makes sense to like market, because you've just got into like such a level, and I think a lot of people forget like what, because coming up with like an ad or like a marketing or like a poster design is kind of sexy and fun, but often I think we forget like the point of marketing, which is to generate leads. And when you're like an artist starting out, you know, you can be talking to people and like interacting that way, and you could realistically be calling up your like 100 friends or whatever it is and telling them about this show, instead of paying $50 to have an ad on Instagram, which like in this experience has done more damage in terms of getting us to come out to your show than good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. And if you're developing like a good, we'll use the word product, like you don't have to market it. Like I think the only thing that like actually matters is like word of mouth, and if it's good, like that just happens. And I think you can like add fuel to that through marketing, but it's just,
I think it adds more value to your own life because, you know, like, I don't know, for the audience, you know, listening to this or whatever, keep in mind that we've been through this, and that's why we're talking about it, is that we've felt these things and been disappointed by running ads and having no return off of it.
Yeah.
And you know, putting out this magazine across the country and spending, you know, $5,000 to print it and having no real return off of it.
it's 8.
It's like, it's more or less like trying to show people that it doesn't work and not like trying to scold them that they're doing it. I just think it's like, it's good to look at these things, you know, and
Well, yeah, and I think like for us, it's, I don't know, we've been collaborating on stuff for forever, and Chump is like our third or fourth like publication endeavor, and there's like lessons that we've learned, and I think we've tried every kind of growth hacky, like greasy trick under the sun. And yeah, I think it's just like passing, I don't know, just like having the conversation around it. But I think what really pisses me off in terms of like just like an artist paying to market when they're starting out, just, I don't know, just doesn't fit right with me, or like my understanding of like the artist's overall role in society. Like, it's just such a contradiction.
Yeah.
Especially when everybody comes at it as like, I'm the alternative.
Yeah. When you're not. So this guy I used to I went to school with, what did he say? Oh, nonconformist conforming, and he'd have a little giggle about it. And he's a funny guy, but it's kind of like, it happens often that, punk rock's the perfect example of this, where it's like, punk rock is now defined as this thing, but there's more or less an attitude of punk rock that doesn't have anything to do with what the hell you wear or what you listen to as far as music goes.
Yeah.
There's an attitude within punk rock but then it's kind of now contradicted itself, because it's like defining you have to be this way about, what music you listen to, or else you're not punk rock. You're not a punk because you listen to fucking, I don't know, some sort of like hip hop fucking music or something. It's like, if that's what you took from punk rock, I don't think you're getting it, to be honest. Like,
no. Well, yeah, and like I really grew up in, like, within that. Like, I think a lot of like my influence comes from like the early punk movement, and like I used to have like a little bit of a Mohican haircut and like my nice like patched jacket and like all that. But like I feel in a lot of ways like I'm more punk now than I've ever been, and I don't think you would look at me and identify that. Like, I look like I could be working an office job most of the time.
yeah.
But then it's like that, I don't know, it's like putting yourself into positions where you can actually have like an impact and carry that forward. And I think what gets to me is, like, I think our generation kind of gives like the baby boomers a lot of flack for like destroying the world or whatever. And the only thing that trips me up there is that a large percent of the baby boomers would have came through like kind of the hippie movement, and if those people had carried that mindset into their careers, like, it would be like different. Like, if you were a banker who still believed in peace, love, and understanding, like, I think you'd be making different life choices.
The decisions you make within your work would be different. You wouldn't just give up on this thing or this idea of like, whatever the idea is, it applies to a lot of different things. Instead of just kind of giving up on that because it doesn't apply exactly as you imagined it would.
Yeah.
Apply it to what you're doing right now, kind of idea is what you're saying, right? Like, not letting the world around you totally destroy or take away your values necessarily, and maybe, but I mean, I think it's good. I will say that, artists are trying this stuff. I think it will lead to, hopefully some ideas and thoughts around it and stuff, like, because, unfortunately I think you have to, like, for us, if we didn't do it, we wouldn't have experienced it. But yeah, it definitely feels weird. And what I was going to say, was the value. It doesn't add any value to your own life by doing it that way, I don't think. And that's what I've learned, that by doing, the one thing I have in my control is not whether or not somebody buys my product. I don't think that's necessarily a control that I have. But I can control how good it is, and accepting that that's the only control I have is quite, empowering to, at the end of the day, when I finish something, I say, I'm happy with how this turned out, and that's it. And there's no anything else. And then, I'm not going to try and, make that, a part of other people's lives. Mm-hmm. I'm going to, even more so, because I see the value it's given me. And so maybe I can, give value to somebody else. But if I look at it like there's no value at that until I make that sale, then there's no value, and there's no value. What I'm trying to get at is just like, there's nothing there anymore if you make it about that. If you make it about making it good, then it's already this thing of value, whether or not somebody buys it.
Well, I think Yeah, if you're putting your focus on like that, like the external stuff, like how much social media traction is this thing getting, which really seems that the majority of our peers, that's what matters. And I know definitely for me, like I've been in that mindset where that's what matters, is like how many like followers you have, which is like a really weird thing because like back in the day you had followers if you were like a cult leader, you know, and now it's like everybody's like, look at my following. Like I was having this chat with these kids last week, and they were going on and about like what they're up to, and really interested in doing some stuff, and then we're like selling me on like what they were doing like through their social media numbers, and which sure like looks impressive, but then it's the question is, well, like what's your model, like what's your business model here? Are you selling, or are people like actually coming out to your events? Like I'm more, I don't know, I think interested in that. But yeah, and if these external things are, like in my opinion, if these external things are your definition of success, like you're going to be fucking miserable. And that's been a huge shift, like probably in the past year for me, where it becomes more about self mastery and taking the pleasure and the reward and like the process of making the work and getting it as good or as like truthful as possible, instead of, you know, pouring your soul into this thing and then sticking it out there and then it not being picked up and feeling like you're a smuck.
Yeah.
Which is like we've definitely have done like
Yeah.
countless times.
No, exactly. It's not healthy for I don't think it's healthy, and in myself it didn't feel very good, so I suspect it wouldn't feel good for other people, but I don't know, when you're constantly being bombarded with stuff like, you know, the hustle is what matters, it's kind of hard not to think that's
Yeah, work harder.
yeah.
Which fair to a degree, but I don't know. And also like I find it odd that it seems like creatives are going for popularity. Like it's really what the driver of success there is, how many people are aware or like my work. Um, but I think, I don't know, like everybody likes vanilla ice cream, you know? Like nobody loves vanilla ice cream. It's just like the thing that everybody gravitates to. So if you're creating art and you're allowing like social media metrics and um, to like influence the type of work that you're producing, you're going to be creating like vanilla subpar stuff. I think if you're doing good work, like there's going to be people that like love it or hate it. I think that like having that balance there is like what you want to be
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah, so like you can't really, yeah, if the numbers are, well, it's like kind of a weird way to like let your art. I mean, as far as my understanding of what art is, it's not. Or if it's led by something like that, how can it be, you know, good? I think there's situations where it can be still,
Yeah.
but
What is your understanding of art?
it's changed pretty drastically. I don't know. I think now it's more or less just. I guess like the question is like, why is it there, or what makes it good, or like why do we even have art in the world? You know, like I guess there's a lot of things around that. I think for me, I'm starting to see like, well, it's a form of communication. I think it's a result of, you know, being conscious of ourselves and needing to express ourselves, you know, in a way. But I also feel, actually, this is truly how I feel, is that we're all artists every day. Just the medium changes for people. You know, somebody that, because every day we're making choices, and so I can paint a canvas, and as I'm painting a canvas, I'm making choices as to where to put things. I think good art is when I make those choices based off of like, you know, how I feel or what's happening inside of me, and not, like you say, these external things like Instagram followers. If I'm deciding to paint something because I think, you know, I'm going to get more followers, I don't think it's going to be good. Just like in life, you know, everybody's an artist because they're choosing, every day they're choosing to do things, and that creates this life. And if you look at a life, it's very much like a form of, like an art, like it can be inspiring. Some people live their lives and inspire other people just off the choices they make in their life, you know what I mean? So I think it's less of choices, and that's what art is. It's like just choice to, and I think bad art is when you just kind of follow just whatever set out rules been set, you know, for you, or
Yeah.
kind of like, are you really being an artist? But I mean, at the same time, sometimes, you know, people want a certain life and it just happens to all line up, and there's a lot of people that like it. But I don't think that's the same thing. Like with art, there's a lot of art that's, you know, similar but still can be good because it's still honest. You know, a lot of people have similarities. We are, you know, we're not all that different, even though we're all individuals. There's still a lot of common ground amongst us. So. It's just like, are you being honest is the question in your life and in your art, and it's like that's.
Yeah. Well, and I think that question of like honesty and authenticity is like, what's when we were at the big music festival a couple weeks ago, and we were checking out bands, and we'd see a band and be like, well, they're good, but like something feels off, and then we were having the conversations around that, and it just didn't feel authentic. It felt, yeah, like people were playing roles or positioning or putting these things on instead of like making good art. And I think, like, I agree with what you're saying to a degree. Like, I think like the role of the artist is to like live a life in their like current times, and to take that in and like their personal experiences and like channel it through their medium, and then like that's creative work. And then when it becomes art, it's how like that weird in between when an audience is interacting with the work. And I don't know, the people that I'm really into right now are the people that are like really producing work from a place of just like honesty.
I guess that's the tough part of it, is how do you know? Because even like at Big, right, we don't really know, and that's through like communication. So to know whether or not it's authentic is like, you know, you feel something, but you also may be feeling something based off of your own experiences. So I think it would be always because I was always so often to say, you know, especially with pop music, let's say I was bad for like, oh, this is pop music, so it can't be good. It's not authentic or something. But at the end of the day, I don't actually know. So to create a open communication with the person is, I think, the best way to really know. But also, I guess as the artist, that's your goal, is to try and make sure that they know that. And so if you're not doing, like, I don't know, it's kind of, that's where I get confused, because I'm like, well, I mean, maybe it's just something I'm not seeing, right? But is it the role of the artist to make you see it? I don't think it's the role of the viewer, but like you said, maybe it's the combination of the two. And so it's important, you know, even like stage, at being like how you go about on stage or something, or how you present your art in the world, makes a difference as to how it's, you know. So if you're like, I think actually this, I'm starting to figure out as I'm talking here. So let's say someone throws an ad up,
Yeah.
that damages their authenticity. And it's not like they're not authentic, but in a way it becomes like you question it, that trust becomes broken. So it's more about building trust or something than, and less about like, you know, their act. Well, no, the art. I guess now I'm losing it again. I'm thinking like, but I think like it has a lot to do with like everything, not just, you know, like stage presence can play a role in that, and what they're saying when they're on stage, or what you're saying, what you're writing about in your artist bio or whatever
Oh, fucking yeah.
plays a role in like how people feel about it. And so you have to look at yourself and say, am I being honest with myself when I'm, you know, doing these things? And, you know, I've seen it before with bands kind of being like, kind of knocking themselves down before they've even played. And it's like, well, is that, so you actually suck? Well, why am I listening to you then?
Or like when
then they don't suck, but now I'm like, well, I don't really, like, you made me not want to listen to your music. Is that, like, why are you doing that? And it's like, it comes from a fear or something inside maybe, or something. And is that really honest then? If that's why you're doing that thing? I don't know. Or insecurity.
Well, I find
or
it like interesting when, you know, like a band comes off and you go up to them and you tell them that their set like blew their mind, and then they say something like, "Oh, it was like whatever, we made some mistakes," blah, 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 and like downplay it. Yeah, and then it feels weird. And I also dig what you're saying around that my perception that day as like an audience member is going to influence if I'm like in the frame of mind to be plugging into like what the artist is doing. The battery on this thing might die. We'll just keep going until it happens.
Well, I hope to finish this point because it sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's good.